As the US-Iran war reignites, Pakistan's role as a mediator is now facing sharp scrutiny after a controversial new demand surfaced. Pakistan is arm-twisting Donald Trump for a staggering $10 billion payout in return for playing its part in the ongoing war diplomacy. Is it becoming a lose-lose situation for Washington, as Iran talks falter and Pakistan demands billions for its mediation efforts? Pakistan has reportedly asked the United States for $10 billion in exchange for brokering fresh diplomatic talks between Washington and Tehran, according to reports. The startling revelations were reportedly made by Pakistan's finance minister, a Reuters report claimed, raising fresh questions over Islamabad's mediation role. Pakistan's finance minister Mohammad Aurangzeb reportedly raised the financial demand during a meeting with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Islamabad allegedly told Scott Bessent that Pakistan's fragile economy has become increasingly vulnerable because of the ongoing Iran-U.S. war. Pakistan also reportedly urged the United States to establish a special bilateral exchange stabilization support facility to cushion its struggling economy. Under the proposed arrangement, Islamabad reportedly sought $10 billion with a repayment maturity period extending up to 5 years, according to Reuters. The requested American financial support would reportedly be used to strengthen Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves as the rupee continues to face mounting pressure. Pakistan is already grappling with the possibility of a wider regional crisis as tensions between Yemen's Houthis and Saudi Arabia continue to intensify. A Houthi declaration of a naval blockade on Saudi Arabia could create a host of problems for Pakistan, because it threatens Saudi security, global oil flows, and Red Sea shipping routes that Islamabad relies on economically and is politically bound to defend. Pakistan is already grappling with the potential fallout from the Houthi move to block or harass Saudi-linked shipping, as any sustained disruption in the Red Sea and Bab el-Mandeb will hit energy prices, trade routes, and Pakistan's fragile economy. On July 19, the Houthis announced they were imposing a naval blockade on Saudi Arabia's Red Sea coast, according to Al Jazeera and other outlets, signaling an intent to target or deter Saudi shipping near the Bab el-Mandeb choke point. In practical terms, the Houthi threat means Saudi tankers and cargo vessels may be unable, or unwilling, to use the Bab el-Mandeb Strait safely, undermining Riyadh's effort to keep a viable alternative sea lane open while the Strait of Hormuz remains at risk. Saudi Arabia has been trying to route some oil exports through the Red Sea and Bab el-Mandeb to hedge against disruptions in the Hormuz corridor, so Houthi pressure there threatens to close off one of its few remaining contingency routes. On July 19, Riyadh responded by vowing to take all necessary steps to protect its ships from Houthi attacks, a formulation that could cover everything from naval escorts and airstrikes to calls on allies, such as Pakistan, to provide support. Critically, the Houthi blockade threat may activate one of the region's most consequential defense agreements, because it can be interpreted as an attack on Saudi territory and maritime security rather than just a distant proxy clash. Saudi Arabia and nuclear-armed Pakistan signed a strategic mutual defense agreement in September 2025, committing each side to treat aggression against one as aggression against both under collective security framework. Under this pact, a significant attack on Saudi Arabia, potentially including a sustained naval blockade that endangers its ships and coastline, could legally and politically be treated as an attack on Pakistan as well, opening the door to demands for Pakistani military intervention. A Russian outlet, Sputnik, has explained that this is exactly why Pakistan may be deeply worried about the pact being triggered, since Islamabad would then have to choose between honoring the alliance with Riyadh and risking confrontation with Iran and its allies, or hesitating and damaging a strategic partnership it has long relied on. Abdullah Khan, director of the Pakistan Institute for Conflict and Security Studies, said, and I quote, "For Pakistan, the implications are direct and serious. Pakistan's interest lies in preventing further escalation through restraint and diplomacy while remaining fully committed to Saudi Arabia's security under the mutual defense framework. Any threat to the kingdom's stability is a threat to Pakistan's strategic and economic interests," unquote. Economic policy analyst Ali Ehsan has warned that the economic consequences for Pakistan could be severe if the Houthi blockade and related disruptions deepen, because the country's already fragile finances leave little room to absorb new external shocks. Ehsan cautioned that Pakistan could lose its key alternative route for Saudi oil shipments via the Red Sea and Yanbu, which Islamabad has leaned on since the Strait of Hormuz became unreliable and increasingly militarized. If that lifeline is choked off, he argued, Pakistan would face higher petrol and electricity prices at home, as well as serious disruptions to textile exports bound for Europe, given that many containers still move through Red Sea and Suez-linked routes. He added that Pakistan's broader trade with Europe would be hit by rising freight costs, longer shipping times, and insurance premiums, piling even more economic pressure on a country already wrestling with inflation, debt, and IMF-linked reforms. All of this comes at a time when Pakistan has been trying to act as a mediator between the United States and Iran to stop the war, meaning that any direct economic blow from the Red Sea crisis also threatens to undercut its diplomatic ambitions and credibility as a neutral broker. Pakistan's unusual request for financial assistance comes even as it joins hands with Qatar in a renewed effort to revive stalled U.S.-Iran negotiations. Qatar and Pakistan have reportedly launched a coordinated joint drive to restart stalled Iran-U.S. talks, hoping to drag both sides back from the brink and revive a fragile diplomatic track before the conflict widens further. These mediation efforts are unfolding even as U.S.-Iran military exchanges enter their 10th straight day, creating a dangerous overlap where diplomacy and daily strikes proceed side by side, each new salvo threatening to derail negotiations. Both states have publicly urged Iran and the United States to halt their ongoing military campaigns and return to implementing a previously agreed memorandum, framing that earlier understanding as the best available framework to cap escalation and reopen dialogue. Iran's Interior Minister Eskander Momini arrived in Islamabad carrying a specific political message, underscoring how high-level emissaries are now being used to move proposals quickly between capitals as part of this renewed diplomatic push. Eskander Momini carried a formal letter from President Masoud Pezeshkian as part of the mediation push, signaling that Tehran is backing the talks at the highest political level and treating this channel as a serious avenue for de-escalation. Momini met Pakistan's army chief, Asim Munir, at a moment when negotiations with the United States were collapsing, underscoring how military-to-military contacts were being used to keep the mediation track alive even as formal talks stalled. These developments were reported by Iran International on July 20th, citing additional regional and Israeli media, which together paint a picture of stepped-up behind-the-scenes diplomacy running in parallel with the battlefield. Channel 14, as relayed by Iran International, said Qatar has floated a proposal that would see the United States pause strikes and the Strait of Hormuz reopened, a package designed to pair de-escalation in the air with relief in vital shipping lanes. Under this reported plan, Iran would reopen both navigational lanes of the Strait of Hormuz for 10 days to commercial shipping, offering a limited-time corridor of safe passage in exchange for reciprocal restraint from Washington. The latest proposal has surfaced in media reports but has not yet been independently verified, leaving analysts cautious about its exact terms even as they note it fits a pattern of incremental, time-bound de-escalation ideas. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai confirmed that Tehran has received new mediation proposals, acknowledging that fresh initiatives are being actively discussed even though their details remain closely held. Notably, this marks Tehran's first public admission that new peace plans are on the table, signaling a shift from outright denial toward cautious openness and suggesting that Iran's leadership is at least willing to explore diplomatic off-ramps. President Pezeshkian has defended the existing memorandum as serving Iran's interests, arguing that the agreement delivered tangible gains for the country and does not contain any clauses that confer one-sided benefits on the United States. Masoud Pezeshkian, the president of Iran, said, and I quote, "Not only was no concession made against the country's interests, but Iran achieved major gains, and there is not a single provision that creates a one-sided benefit for the United States. If economic pressure leads to growing social discontent, the tremendous social capital that people have created in support of the system could be damaged," unquote. Analyst Hossein Ghartib said that diplomacy must always remain on the table as an option, but only if it is anchored in firm guarantees that prevent any repeat of past betrayals and one-sided concessions. Hossein Ghartib, political analyst, said, and I quote, "The next agreement should not be based on concessions before guarantees. Instead, it should rest on the principles of guarantees before concessions, verification before trust, and concrete action before the next step," unquote. Meanwhile, reports say the war has widened across Iran and the broader Gulf region, with new fronts opening and more countries being pulled into the line of fire as the conflict steadily intensifies. Iran has reportedly launched fresh missile and drone strikes on targets in Kuwait and Bahrain, expanding its campaign against US-linked facilities and signaling that no American footprint in the Gulf can be considered truly safe anymore.